Brand new research published just 8 weeks ago is going to make you question everything you've been told about vitamin D. For decades, doctors have said the same thing. Take your vitamin D, take it daily, take it to prevent osteoporosis, take it to prevent falls, take it to stay strong. Just swallow that pill. That's the goal. That's what everyone should do. More is better. But this new research from multiple peer-reviewed journals shows something shocking. For seniors over 65, the way you're taking vitamin D right now might be completely useless, might be wasting your money, might even be making things worse. I'm Dr. James Bennings, and after 18 years as a geriatric physician specializing in bone health, I'm going to tell you the truth about how vitamin D actually works in the aging body. But I'm not going to tell you the correct method yet, because if I reveal it now, some of you will screenshot this, write down the tip, and leave. But you need to understand why timing matters. You need to see what happens when vitamin D is taken the wrong way. You need to know what's happening inside your body at the molecular level before I tell you the exact method that research shows works best for seniors. But before I explain anything about the right method, before I give you even a single clue, you need to see what happens when a senior takes vitamin D the way most people do. You need to understand that for older adults, just taking the pill is not enough. Sometimes the way you take it means you're absorbing almost nothing. Comment below if you currently take vitamin D and tell me how you take it. With breakfast? Before bed? On an empty stomach? With food? I need to see what seniors are actually doing. This is critical data that will help me understand what's happening out there. Let me tell you about Margaret because her story is going to change how you think about vitamin D forever. Margaret was 74 years old when I first met her in my clinic. She'd been taking vitamin D for 12 years. Every single day, never missed a dose. Her primary care doctor had prescribed it when she was 62 after a bone density scan showed early signs of osteopenia, the precursor to osteoporosis. Her doctor had been clear: you need vitamin D, 2,000 international units every day. This will help your bones. This will prevent fractures. Margaret took his advice seriously. She went to the pharmacy that same day, bought a bottle of vitamin D3, 2,000 IU capsules, started taking one every single morning. For 12 years, Margaret never missed. She set a reminder on her phone. 6:30 a.m., take vitamin D. The alarm would go off. She'd walk to the kitchen, pour herself a glass of water, swallow the capsule. Then she'd start making breakfast. Coffee, toast, maybe some fruit. But here's what Margaret didn't know. Here's what her doctor never told her. Here's what changed everything. She was taking that vitamin D on an empty stomach, before any food entered her system, and for 12 years, her body was absorbing only a fraction of what it should have been. Margaret came to see me because she'd fallen. Twice in 6 months. The first fall happened in her bathroom. She stood up from the toilet, felt a wave of dizziness, stumbled, and grabbed the sink just in time. No injury that time, just fear. The second fall was worse. She was walking down her driveway to get the mail, caught her foot on a crack in the concrete, went down hard, broke her left wrist, spent 6 hours in the emergency room, got a cast, spent 3 weeks unable to do basic tasks. When she came to my office, she was frustrated, angry, confused. "Dr. Bennings," she said, "I don't understand. I've been taking my vitamin D for 12 years. I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was protecting my bones. Why did I still fall? Why did my wrist break so easily?" I ordered blood work, standard protocol after a fall. We checked everything: vitamin D levels, calcium, parathyroid hormone, kidney function. The results came back 3 days later. Margaret's vitamin D level was 22 nanograms per milliliter. Technically, that's considered insufficient. The optimal range for seniors is 30 to 40. Some research suggests 40 to 50 is even better for fall prevention. Margaret had been taking 2,000 IU daily for 12 years, and her level was barely adequate. She stared at the results. "How is this possible?" she asked. "I never missed a dose, not once in 12 years. That's when I asked her the critical question. "Margaret, when do you take your vitamin D?" "Every morning," she said. 6:30 a.m., right when I wake up." "And do you take it with food?" She paused, looked confused. "No, I take it first thing. Then I make breakfast about 30 minutes later. Should I be taking it with food?" And that's when everything made sense. Here's what most doctors don't tell you. Here's what the prescription bottle doesn't say. Here's what you absolutely need to understand about vitamin D. It is a fat-soluble vitamin, not water-soluble. Fat-soluble. That means it dissolves in fat, not water. Your body cannot absorb it efficiently without the presence of dietary fat. When you take vitamin D on an empty stomach with just a glass of water, the absorption rate can be as low as 30 to 50%. You're essentially flushing half of that expensive supplement down the drain. But when you take vitamin D with a meal that contains fat, even just a small amount of fat, absorption can increase by 50 to 70%. In some studies, researchers found that taking vitamin D with a meal increased blood levels by 32% compared to taking it without food. Margaret had spent 12 years taking vitamin D the wrong way. Every morning, empty stomach, just water. For 12 years, her body was absorbing maybe 40% of the dose. That 2000 IU pill? Her body was only using about 800 IU. No wonder her levels were low. No wonder she was still at risk for falls. No wonder her bones weren't as strong as they should have been. But here's where it gets worse. Here's where it gets infuriating. Margaret had seen her primary care doctor every year for her annual checkup. Every single year. And every single year, he asked if she was still taking her vitamin D. She said yes. He said great. He never once asked her how she was taking it. Never once explained that it needed to be taken with fat. Never once checked her blood levels to see if the supplement was actually working. He just assumed that because she was swallowing the pill, everything was fine. And Margaret isn't alone. I see this pattern constantly in my practice. Seniors who've been faithfully taking vitamin D for years, decades even, and their levels are still low. Because nobody told them the timing matters. Nobody told them the presence of food matters. Nobody told them that fat-soluble means you need fat. So comment right now if you've been taking vitamin D on an empty stomach. Comment empty stomach if that's you. Because if you're doing this, you need to change it today, right now. This is fixable. This is simple. But you need to know the truth before I give you the exact protocol. Let me tell you what happened to Margaret after we made the change. After I explained how vitamin D absorption works, I gave her new instructions. Simple instructions. Take your vitamin D with breakfast, not before, with. And make sure breakfast includes some fat. Doesn't have to be a lot. A tablespoon of peanut butter, a handful of nuts, eggs, avocado, cheese, full-fat yogurt, even a glass of whole milk. Just something with fat so the vitamin D can dissolve and be absorbed properly. Margaret made the switch immediately. She moved her vitamin D from the nightstand to the kitchen table. Set a new reminder. Take vitamin D with breakfast. She started eating eggs most mornings, sometimes with toast and butter, sometimes with a small avocado. Other mornings she'd have oatmeal with a spoonful of almond butter stirred in. She made sure there was always some source of fat with that meal. 3 months later, I rechecked her blood levels. Her vitamin D had jumped from 22 to 38 nanograms per milliliter, right in the optimal range. Same dose, same 2000 IU capsule. The only difference? She was taking it with food, with fat. Her body was finally absorbing it properly. 6 months later, Margaret came back for a follow-up. She told me she hadn't fallen once, not a single stumble. She felt stronger, more confident, less afraid of moving around her house. Her wrist had healed completely. She'd started taking walks again, 3 times a week, around her neighborhood. She felt like herself again. But here's what makes me angry. Here's what makes this entire situation frustrating beyond belief. This information isn't new. Researchers have known for years that fat-soluble vitamins need to be taken with fat. There are studies going back to 2010 showing that vitamin D absorption is significantly higher when taken with meals. This is established science. This is not controversial. This is not debated. And yet, the majority of doctors never mention it. The prescription bottles don't say it. The labels don't say it. Seniors are spending billions of dollars on vitamin D supplements, and half of them are taking it wrong, absorbing only a fraction of what they should be, and then wondering why they're still falling, still breaking bones, still feeling weak. And here's the other thing nobody talks about. The type of fat matters too. Research published in peer-reviewed journals shows that when vitamin D is taken with a meal containing moderate amounts of fat, somewhere between 11 to 15 grams of fat, the absorption is optimal. Too little fat and absorption is suboptimal. But interestingly, extremely high fat meals don't necessarily increase absorption further. There's a sweet spot, a moderate fat meal, like eggs with toast, oatmeal with nuts, yogurt with seeds, salmon with vegetables. These are the kinds of meals that create the ideal environment for vitamin D absorption. Now, let me address the other massive mistake seniors are making: the timing. Most people take their vitamin D first thing in the morning because that's when they take all their other pills. They have a little pill organizer, Sunday through Saturday, morning section. They dump all their pills into their hand, swallow them with water. Done. But here's the problem. If you're taking vitamin D in the morning and you don't eat breakfast for another hour, or if your breakfast is just black coffee and a banana, you're not absorbing it properly. The vitamin D is sitting in your stomach with no fat to bind to. By the time you eat something substantial, the vitamin D has already moved through your digestive system. You've missed the window. So here's the protocol. Here's what actually works. Here's what the research shows. Here's what I tell every single senior patient who walks into my office. Take your vitamin D with the largest meal of the day. For most people, that's dinner. For some, it's lunch. Whichever meal has the most fat, whichever meal is the most substantial, that's when you take your vitamin D. Not in the morning with just water, not as an afterthought, with your largest, most nutrient-dense, fat-containing meal of the day. Let me give you some examples so this is crystal clear. Let's say you eat a typical breakfast. Maybe cereal with skim milk, maybe just coffee and toast with jam. That's not enough fat for optimal vitamin D absorption. But then for lunch, you have a salad with grilled chicken, olive oil dressing, avocado, and some cheese. That's a meal with plenty of fat. Take your vitamin D with that meal. Or let's say dinner is your biggest meal. You have salmon, roasted vegetables with olive oil, and a side of quinoa. Perfect. Take your vitamin D with dinner. The fat from the salmon and the olive oil will help your body absorb the vitamin D efficiently. And here's another thing. You don't need to take vitamin D every single day at the exact same time. The half-life of vitamin D in your body is about 15 days. That means it stays in your system for weeks. As long as you're taking it consistently with meals that contain fat, your levels will stabilize. Some people take 2,000 IU daily. Others take 5,000 IU twice a week. Some take 10,000 IU once a week. The key is consistency and taking it with fat. The specific timing of the day doesn't matter as much as the presence of dietary fat. Now let me address the seniors who are taking extremely high doses of vitamin D. Maybe your doctor prescribed 50,000 IU once a week because your levels were dangerously low. That's a prescription strength dose, and here's what you need to know. Those massive doses absolutely must be taken with fat. Research shows that when a 50,000 IU dose of vitamin D is taken with a low to moderate fat meal, absorption is significantly better than when taken on an empty stomach or even with a very high-fat meal. So if you're on prescription-strength vitamin D, do not take it on an empty stomach. Ever. Take it with a meal, a real meal, with fat. And here's the scary part that nobody talks about. If you're taking vitamin D wrong, on an empty stomach, without fat, and your blood levels are still low, some doctors will just keep increasing your dose. They'll move you from 2,000 IU to 5,000, then to 10,000, then to 50,000 weekly. And your levels might improve slightly, but not as much as they should. Because the problem isn't the dose, the problem is the absorption. You're taking more and more, but your body still isn't absorbing it properly because there's no fat present. It's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom and wondering why the bucket isn't filling up. The solution isn't to pour more water. The solution is to fix the hole. So here's what I want you to do right now. If you're currently taking vitamin D, I want you to change how you take it. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Move your vitamin D bottle to wherever you eat your largest meal. If that's the dinner table, put the bottle there. If it's the kitchen counter where you eat lunch, put it there. Set a reminder on your phone. Take vitamin D with dinner. Take vitamin D with lunch. Whatever works for your routine. Just make sure it's with a meal that contains fat. And here's the second thing I want you to do. If you've been taking vitamin D for more than 6 months and you've never had your blood levels checked, call your doctor and request a vitamin D blood test. It's a simple blood draw, takes 2 minutes. The test is called 25-hydroxyvitamin D. That's the form of vitamin D that gets measured in your blood. The result will tell you if what you're doing is working. The optimal range for seniors is 30 to 40 nanograms per milliliter. Some experts say 40 to 50 is even better for fall prevention and bone strength. If your level is below 30, your dose might need to be adjusted. Or more likely, the way you're taking it needs to be fixed. And here's the third thing. Tell your friends about this. Tell your family members. Tell everyone you know who's over 65 and taking vitamin D, because this is information that could prevent falls, prevent fractures, prevent hospitalizations, prevent disability. This is life-changing information that should be common knowledge but somehow isn't. Margaret sent me a thank you card 6 months after we fixed her vitamin D routine. In the card she wrote, "I spent 12 years doing it wrong and nobody told me. Thank you for finally explaining it in a way that made sense." And that's why I'm making this video, because there are millions of seniors out there doing exactly what Margaret did, taking their vitamin D faithfully, every single day, thinking they're protecting their bones, thinking they're preventing falls, but absorbing only a fraction of what they should be, because nobody told them it has to be taken with fat. This is not complicated. This is not expensive. This doesn't require a prescription. This doesn't require a special supplement. You don't need to buy a different brand or a different form. You just need to take the vitamin D you already have with a meal that contains fat. That's it. That's the entire solution. So comment below right now. Tell me how you've been taking your vitamin D. Have you been taking it on an empty stomach? Have you been taking it with food? What meal do you take it with? I want to hear from you. I want to know what's working and what's not. Because the more we share this information, the more seniors we can help. And if this video helped you, if this information changed how you're going to take your vitamin D from now on, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. Save it to your playlist so you can come back to it. Because this is the kind of information that could literally save someone from a fall, a fracture, a hospitalization. This is the kind of information that should be shouted from the rooftops, but somehow gets buried in medical jargon and never reaches the people who need it most. Your bones are counting on you. Your independence is counting on you. Your quality of life is counting on you. Take your vitamin D the right way, with fat, with food, with your largest meal of the day. That's how you protect yourself. That's how you actually get the benefit from that supplement you've been faithfully taking. Don't let 12 years go by like Margaret. Don't let another day go by doing it wrong. Fix it today.